Hey guys, this is Michael, and I'm with my friend Ashley. She's got a particular type of Halloween costume on. Comment below if you recognize the outfit. Obviously a cave woman. Extra points if you could tell us which cave woman. But that cave woman isn't part of the story. Today's story is about Duce Hatcher, his buddy Odd Johnston, and their adventure against the infamous Novik and his two sons, Pat and Rick. This is about the Jackal Catfish and the Mammoth Cave and the Fisher's Ridge cave system. But we'll get into that after we check a few jugs. We got 8 of them out here. We're on the Nolin Lake, or that's what it's called now. Wish us some luck. One thing I've learned, guys, is the water gets shallow pretty quick on these lakes. I've been hitting a lot of bottoms. I'm used to the Green River where it kind of just drops off, and we also deal with a lot of traffic, lots of waves. It's definitely some getting used to. All right, I may drag bottom here, but we got a mixture of goldfish and skipjack and even some worms.
My arm only goes so long.
Yeah. Gotta jump in.
Okay.
That's 2 without bait. That's interesting. And again, guys, if you're just joining me, I got most of my stories. I put them together through my little journal that I got from a unknown person. Now we got a bobbing jug right here. Look at that. I'm pretty sure there's a fish on it.
Catch me a big whale.
I'd like to see it go under. We had all skipjack on it. Pretty much all skipjack. And a couple of goldfish, but that's not a goldfish. A monster! Whoa! That's a Halloween monster right there, boy. That's actually smaller than the one that we caught first, but we did catch a daggone fish. We're baiting with smaller bait. That's one thing we did. So.
I don't see one.
Do what?
I don't see one.
Well, guys, as usual, I don't actually have a Halloween story. It's just something that gives me the creeps sometimes. In this area, there are lots of caves. If you've ever been to Western Kentucky, you know that we are famous for Mammoth Cave. Well, there are a lot of other cave systems out here. One of them is fittingly called Fisher's Ridge Cave. And this story was back in the late 1800s. Looking for a jug, by the way.
Yeah, I'm seeing it.
Back in the late 1800s, there was a catfish business, the Jackal Catfish. You may have heard of it. It's almost somewhat extinct catfish, kind of a dangerous catfish, and there is rumor that they may still be out there, but we haven't officially caught anything. We may have went out to the main water. But this guy, his name was Novik Hatcher, and he had 2 sons. One of them was Pat and the other one was Rick. And they had a family business, and it was their secret catfish. And nobody could make the catfish quite like theirs. It tasted so good and so unique. And no one could even understand how they grew them because Novik had a secret. Constantly hitting stuff out here on the lake, guys. I don't like it at all. Right in the middle of the water. There it is. one day Novik was hiring. He was hiring for 2 positions. And people didn't understand why, because he never did that. And he never said, but it appeared his 2 sons had both went missing. Pat and Rick. Never seen again. I think there's something on that. It's bouncing. So a guy named Duce Hatcher and his friend Odd Johnston, who were big time cavers, they got hired on. And it turns out, you know, Novik, you know, yeah, it's definitely got a fish. So Novik was raising these catfish in a cavern under the ground. He didn't want anybody to know about where it was at, but he did have to tell Odd and Duce, but they were sworn to secrecy. What do you got there?
Ooh,
A freaking flathead. That had to have been on a goldfish. All right, guys, redeemed. Ashley, the cave woman, is redeemed. Our, not her, but our whole jug fishing experience. I'm happy. That's a little bitty flathead, but by God, we got one more jug, and then we're gonna backtrack and see if we can.
I'm almost more excited about this one than the 24-pounder last time.
Yes, this one's it's good. We're good. That's the biggest fish by far. You caught two fish in the same video, so that's impressive.
Winning.
Anyways, guys, this really happened. I looked it up. It was in the book. But the Duce and Odd, they started working for Novik. He was very secretive, and they were only allowed to do certain things. And one thing that they didn't understand is nobody ever fed the catfish. Well, one day there was a census done, the first one of the area, and they realized that a lot of people had gone missing. A lot of people, it was the first time that they ever kind of did a head count of the people of the hills. And oddly, Novik was one of the ones that people were looking at, mainly because a lot of times people would take cave tours with this guy, and he would say they would get lost and go missing. Well, one day Duce and Odd were down there up to no good, and they observed a horrifying event. Novik was taking stranger people from the area that were coming in just as tourists, and he was pushing them off into the Jago catfish pits. And he was actually letting them eat the people. And it turns out, go ahead and throw that back out. It turns out that's why the catfish had such unique taste, because they were raised on human flesh. Well, Duce and Odd were so embarrassed when they saw this, and they knew that they had been part of this.
Embarrassed? I'd be scared. I'd be terrified.
Well, they knew that they had been helping him out, and they would look bad. So they came up with a plan, and the plan was to trap Novik down there, seal the lagoons off under the ground so that nobody could find them, because nobody knew where they were anyway, and then they could let their secret die. And that's what they wanted. That's what they did. They snuck down there. They rigged both entrances. There's 2 entrances with explosives, and they waited for Novik to come down there. Well, Novik came, but unfortunately he had 2 tourists with him. He was giving them a cave tour. And Odd and Duce, you know, they didn't want to blow the place up and leave the 2 people down there. There were 2 females, 2 good-looking girls. One of them looked like Ashley. So, a mad dash, Odd runs out, grabs the 2 girls, and starts up one of the entrances. And Duce runs out the other side. And then they pull the switch and blow both entrances. And Odd and the 2 girls came to the surface, and Odd told them what was going to happen, and both of them were very grateful, and they wanted to help But for some reason, Duce didn't come back up. So they went back down after him. And Odd and the two girls, they go back down. They go through the maze and they find the other entrance, and it had been destroyed. But unfortunately, Duce had gotten trapped in the rocks. He was still halfway alive, but there wasn't no getting him out. And one of the girls took off, went back to go get help, and Odd and the other girl stayed behind to try to get him out. Well, when the other girl came back with help, she brought a bunch of people with her. She couldn't figure out how to get back down there. It was a maze, and only Novik, Odd, and Duce knew the way down there. And they searched and searched and searched, and they never found them. They never saw Odd or the girl ever again, and no one ever found Duce, assuming that he was still stuck between the rocks. And of course, a lot of people still think Novik and the jackal catfish are down there. And to this day, the people of Mammoth Cave and all the cavers, they've always tried to find a connection between Mammoth Cave and Fisher Ridge, and they still have never found it. And legend has it, Duce's body marks the way. Watch out for Duce Hatcher if you're a caver. If you find his body, then you may find Novik. You don't want to release the jackal catfish or Novik. Was he possessed by the Wendigo? What happened to his two sons, Pat and Rick? No one knows. Duce Hatcher's descendants are still in the area, still around the caves. Next time you're around the cave system, next time you go to Mammoth Cave, ask about Duce Hatcher, the infamous Duce Hatcher, and how he took down the evil Novik in his operation of death. This is Michael with the Cave Girl Ashley. Ashley had a great year. We have lots of videos, lots of fun. Thanks for watching as always, and stay tuned. This is Michael with Ashley.
Bye. Thanks for a great season.